everybody. Welcome back. I'm Denisha Christensen, the host of You Know How This Ends, the podcast where I hope that you will remember and that it will remind you every time you listen to it that the only thing that is required for you to achieve your goals and your dreams and everything that you want out of life is just to not stop, not give up. Keep going, keep trusting the process, keep improving and progressing, and you will achieve your goals and dreams, whether in this life or in the next. And the whole work that we have to do is to align ourselves with God, with the energy of the universe, and be okay with however long it needs to take and whatever the journey needs to look like. And I know that's one thing to say and something completely different to do. And I want to talk about two aspects of this part of the journey that are a little bit tricky and a little bit interesting to navigate. And I've had a couple of clients that have been beautiful examples of this week. And so I wanted to pop on and share some insight about that. The first one is what is known as the upper limit problem. And this is from a book called Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. And this talks about and really paints a beautiful picture of what it looks like as you are progressing and up leveling. And another piece of this that maybe we'll talk about first is the fact that nothing big really ever happens while you're in your comfort zone. Let that sink in for a minute. No growth happens. Nothing big happens. Nothing like your goals, your dreams, your desires, that does not happen in your comfort zone. And that can be really scary and hard because our brain is wired to actually keep us in our comfort zone. I like to call my brain my monkey brain and my smart brain. And my monkey brain is your primordial brain. It's the part of you, and I'm not a brain scientist person, so I might use wrong words. Just go with me here. It's the concept that matters. But your monkey brain is set and wired to keep you safe. We've talked about this before. It's wired to keep you comfortable, to keep you from having any problems or doing anything that might cause harm. Now, harm in, caveman times was like being eaten by a lion or freezing to death or starving to death, right? That was harm. Now, chances of us starving to death are slim to none, especially if you live in the United States of America. Chances of getting eaten by a lion or a wild beast, again, slim to none. Chances of you freezing to death, slim to none, unless you're going to go and hang out on Everest, right? Those primeval animalistic concerns and instincts that we have are not really applicable in our time that we live in now. But our brain is still wired for anything that might cause you to get out of your comfort zone, to move into a space where you just don't know, and that might be dangerous in any way, shape, or form, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially, relationshipally, right? Our brain tries to keep us from going there. And our brain is kind of like a file cabinet, like the old files that you like open up the big metal drawers, they'd like rifle through them, right? Or I even see it in my mind as like a recipe file, right? You have your little box that you open up and you flip through the recipes and you're like, oh, in my case, oh yeah, here's our chocolate chip cookie recipe, our oatmeal chocolate chip cookie recipe that we love and make almost every week because we love them. It looks for a file, it looks for any kind of proof that this is something safe, that you've done this before and that you will succeed. Because it wants you to succeed. It doesn't want you to be embarrassed. It doesn't want you to fail. It doesn't want you to have any problems, again, financially, emotionally, mentally, physically. And so anything that it doesn't have a file on record for, it's like, nope, don't do it. There might be bears, there might be lions, you might die. We don't know what that looks like. And so it tries to keep you from doing it. So that's why anything that's new or different, again, that you don't have a file for, your brain comes up with all these concerns and excuses and dreams and nightmares, right, of what could possibly go wrong because it does not want you to get in that kind of a situation. It wants to keep you safe. And this is beautiful. This is the part of our brain that actually does keep us safe, right, when there's harm or danger. This is the part of our brain that helps us to be in the space that we're in and helps us to be present in the moment. And it's beautiful. And it is meant to work that way. So when all this comes up for you, it's not that something is going wrong. It's not that you're doing something wrong. It's just recognizing, oh, I'm wanting to progress. I'm wanting to create a new relationship. I'm wanting to change the way that we're the dynamic of a relationship, right? I've had that a lot in my marriage of learning to connect with each other in a different way than we had before. And it's super awkward. You've heard me say it a million times. It's always awkward before it's elegant. And it's uncomfortable, that awkwardness, right? We're trained to avoid embarrassment, trained to avoid awkwardness. But when we do that, it actually keeps us from progressing. It keeps us from advancing. And so it's so important to recognize when you are having all those fears and concerns and worries, to just stop, to breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth, to move your body. Most of us, that's going to be our hips, our belly, our glutes, moving that part of our body, rolling your shoulders back. And I like to see it, a lot of times I see it as these hamsters, little gerbils on their wheels, right? Running, 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 running in my head. And I quiet them down and I let all my energy drop from my head and all the things that my brain is thinking, and all the thoughts and all the different scenarios and all the fears and concerns and worries. And I let it drop down into my chest. And I just breathe and I move and I get back into my body. And I remind my body, I am safe right now. I am safe right now. And yes, there are some things that I don't know about the future and this decision that we're making and these next moves that we're making, but it's going to be okay. Fear does not come from God. God does not work in fear, lack, scarcity, worry, doubt. I love Christ on the Sermon on the Mount. He says, basically, why would you worry? Can you, by thinking about it and worrying about it, add a cubit to your stature? Can you add a few inches to how tall you are? No, you cannot. If you could, I would probably subtracted a few inches from me several times. I would probably added a few inches to my husband. For those that don't know, my husband is about 2.5, 3 inches shorter than I am. And we actually almost didn't even get married or even date because of that. And finally, one of his roommates said, "Are you two really going to let 2 inches determine your eternal salvation?" And we were like, oh, maybe it's not that big a deal in the long run of things, right? And he is the love of my life. I love him so, so much. I digress. Funny side note. Worry and fear do not come from God. So who do they come from then? That comes from the adversary. When all of that comes up, it is either the adversary trying to keep you from progressing into something really beautiful and important, or it's just your brain doing its job and trying to keep you safe. But I want you to lean into that feeling of trust and of peace. And if you are leaning into that feeling and you're not finding it, that's where you might want to, do some meditating, do some prayer and scripture study and some journaling and figure out what is going on. Is this really a no? Is this really something that I'm not meant to do? And most of the time, your body will tell you that. Most of us, if you look at human design, most of us are generator types with a sacral motor that will give us an immediate uh-huh, yes, or an uh-uh, no about something. So if you can kind of play 20 questions with your body, if you can get out of your head using that exercise that I just told you about quieting the mind, sinking all the energy down into your belly, you'll feel an uh-huh. And even though your head is like, oh, no, 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 all these things, the words, what if, bah, 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 right? You'll feel that pull forward, or maybe just that peace in your belly and even in your heart, in your chest, that will give you that sense of peace. And you might feel an where it's just like, I don't know why it makes sense. I have felt this on different real estate deals where it's like, it makes sense with the numbers and logically, but for some reason, it just doesn't feel good. And I would invite you to trust that feeling. And it might just be a not right now type of thing. Doesn't mean it's forever. But a lot of times, the progression that we need to have, we feel the anxiety and the fear and the worry and doubt, and even the because we're afraid to move forward. We're afraid to get out of our comfort zone. You're afraid to spend more money than maybe you ever had before on a coach or a mentor or an investment. You are afraid of what that relationship, what might happen with it, right? If you bring up something that needs to be discussed, or if you want to talk about something that needs to be changed, you might be afraid of making some changes in the way that you're eating or the way that you're spending your time, your movement, or whatever it might be. All of those things and so many more move us out of our comfort zone and require us to do and be something different. And here's kind of my litmus test with this, because you can't always be progressing. You can't always be trying to move out of your comfort zone, because that gets exhausting. And that's when you get like the adrenal fatigue and all the different problems and stuff that are coming in, because you're exhausted from constantly trying to progress. And most of the time, for most of us, push forward. So what I try to focus on and to fill into is, does this feel like me trying to push my way forward, trying to push the boulder, trying to push everything into motion? Or does it feel like progression? Does it feel like expansion? And maybe it feels stretchy and uncomfortable, but it doesn't feel like I'm trying to move the mountain all by myself. Does that make sense? Feeling stretchy. And a lot of the people that I work with, they're just getting started in real estate investing, and feeling stretchy might be making that payment to get educated, might be making that first deal, might be talking to someone about being an equity partner or a money lender, or whatever that needs to look like. You might never have done that before, and that feels stretchy and uncertain. But it's not hard. It's not pushing the boulder off the mountain by yourself, right? It feels expansive. It feels progressive. It feels like, even though it's scary and I don't know how, it's the next steps that I need to take in order to move into my goals and dreams and desires in the life that I choose to live. So look at it like that and do some comparing and contrasting, right? Times in your life when it felt like you were just pushing and it seemed like nothing was working. And my next episode, we're going to be talking about that. And also when it feels like expanding and progressing into the next level. And a beautiful thing, you women that are listening, is when you are in feminine energy flows, but it's powerful, like water flowing down a mountain, and it comes to a cliff, and there's a big boulder right there on that cliff. The water doesn't stop and try to push the boulder. The water just flows around it and keeps on flowing down the mountain. And over time, what happens to that boulder? The water wears away and wears away and wears away, simply, little by little, beautifully, at the ground around the boulder. And eventually, that boulder just topples off the edge of the cliff. The water wasn't trying to push harder. It didn't stop and wait for the boulder to move. It just kept progressing. It kept flowing. And that's what I mean by feeling progressive and expansive instead of trying to push. And here's what happens as you progress and you expand, you will reach your upper limits. When you have made more money than you ever have before, that is an upper limit. When life is getting better than it ever has before, your relationships, maybe your intimate sexual relationship with your spouse, maybe a beautiful relationship with your kids, maybe just so much joy in how work is going and how life is going and the experiences that you're having, maybe even with God and your spiritual connection with heaven and the divine. When that gets better than it ever has before, your brain, right, monkey brain, starts to send off these alerts. Alert, alert, alert. we're progressing past what we have ever done before, and we don't know what this looks like. We have to have something to reset us, to take us back down to our previous comfort level, because we're getting up there and we don't know what this looks like after this. So please, something to bring us down. And then something happens. You might have been having a beautiful relationship with your spouse, and all of a sudden you have a big argument over something that doesn't even matter. Maybe you've been bringing in all sorts of beautiful income, new clients, new opportunities, sales, whatever that looks like in your business. And all of a sudden, a big client asks for a refund, or something that you thought was going to go through, they decide not to. There's so many different ways that this upper limit problem can look like. One of mine personally that I distinctly remember, because it was soon after I learned this concept of the upper limit from Gay Hendricks' Big Leap book. And I had just signed on a new client at a price for my coaching package that I had never charged before. I'd started really small and simple. I think I started like $1,000 for my coaching package, move it up to 1,500, move it up to 2,000, move it up to 2,500. And I was all scared and worried and nervous about having this new higher price, which now I charge a lot more than that, depending on what we're doing. And she and I had a discovery call with someone and said, this is what the program is. And she said yes, and paid in full. And I was so excited, and I was just so elated, really, at having this beautiful new client come in, the money come in to help, all these different things. And that night, like, got into a big argument with my husband, ended up like all these things happening with the kids, like all this crazy stuff. And later I was like, oh, that was my upper limit. And actually my back went out on me too. That was another thing. My back went out on me when it hadn't been gone out on me for quite a while before that. And looking back, I was like, oh, I had reached a level that I hadn't been at before. And even though I was excited, I didn't know if I could sustain it subconsciously. All this is happening subconsciously, right? I'm not consciously going, oh no, I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep this client. Like, of course I'm going to keep her. She's right there, right? She already paid in full. She's super excited. But subconsciously, I was going, oh no, I don't know if I can do this. I've never done this before. We need to do something to drop our energy, our excitement, our vibration back down to where it's a little bit more comfortable. So once I became aware of it, the next time I had a new client at a higher price, I consciously chose, I am going to, like, I think we went out and bought steaks and had a really yummy celebratory steak dinner and had all this fun stuff with the kids. My husband and I made love that night to celebrate. Like, I consciously was like, okay, I am not going to lower myself and allow myself to have this upper limit problem. I'm going to accept, I'm going to consciously and deliberately create what this looks like and how I want my life to look, and celebrate instead of drop out in fear and worry and concern. So that's an example from my own life. I've seen it twice in the last, at the time of this recording, I've seen it twice in the last few days with one client who, she was going to join our real estate training program and was figuring out the financial stuff, and things were going great. And she had a bicycle accident and broke, I can't remember exactly, broke a few ribs and maybe a wrist and all this different stuff. And when she told me about it, because I was checking, I was like, hey, how is everything coming? And she was like, oh, I haven't been able to work on it like I wanted to because I was in a bicycle accident. And I was like, oh my gosh, are you okay? And internally I was like, upper limit. She hadn't done anything like this before. And even though she was moving forward with it, she subconsciously felt worried and concerned. And so something happened to bring her down and allow her to delay the whole process a little bit by having to be in bed and recovering, right? Another one that I've seen this in lately is someone who, again, had been to several of our classes and our trainings and was feeling really good about jumping into the real estate business, the investing business. And all of a sudden, he canceled our meeting and said, I just can't do this. And when I talked to him about it, realized that he had actually been in real estate previously in a different capacity, but thinking about jumping in as an investor brought back all these fears and worries and concerns of things that had happened previously in his life as a result of that. And he just said, I can't do this. I can't do this anymore. Again, an upper limit problem. And nothing but love. I'm not judging. I'm not saying that this shouldn't have happened. This is very, very normal. This happens to me. This happens to every single one of us. I hope you're seeing and reflecting on times in your life when you realize that this has happened. And if you can't, then I promise something will happen soon. And now that you're aware of it, that will help you to go, oh, upper limit problem, right? And once it's conscious, then you can see it more clearly and you can be intentional about it. And so it's so important. One of my favorite thoughts is bring the subconscious conscious, because the subconscious is running the show 99.9% of the time. And we have to make it conscious so that then we know what is happening, what is going on, and we can consciously work through that and support our body and our mind through all of that. My friends, the most important work you can do is the work on yourself. And the most important real estate is the 6 inches between your head. Getting comfortable in your body, understanding your brain and how you work, working through the problems, the worries, the fears, the concerns that come up, working with someone that can help you through this. Everybody should have a coach. Everybody should have a mentor. If Celine Dion at the height of her career had a vocal coach, she's perhaps one of the greatest singers of all time. If Michael Phelps, while winning multiple, however many dozens of Olympic medals, had a coach, how much more important do you think it is for you and me to have a coach as well? You've got to get out of your comfort zone. You have to become aware of these upper limit problems. You have to be willing to progress and expand while recognizing when you're progressing and expanding or trying to push, trying to force something to happen. Nothing in nature pushes, hustles, or grinds. Do you realize that? Only machines hustle and grind. You are not a machine. You are a beautiful part of nature. You are meant to flow, to expand, to progress. Everything on the planet progresses. Everything brings new life. Everything sends out seeds to get bigger and stronger and better and advance and progress. But they do it by trusting the timing, trusting their creator, and moving forward the way they were intended, progressing, expanding, not pushing, hustling, or grinding. You are not a machine. So I would love to work with you as your coach, as your mentor. If you are a woman who is wanting to progress and expand, wants to really create your empire, all the big goals, all the big dreams, and unapologetically live the life that you were meant to live, I'm the girl for you. If you just want, a side hustle, making a few hundred or even a few couple $1,000s a month, I'm not the girl for you. There's lots of other coaches out there that can help you with that. I work with women and their families who want it all, who want the amazing business and the wealth and the freedom that brings, who want complete, beautiful alignment with God and with the highest, best version of themselves, who want amazing relationships. I'm talking the most beautiful, fulfilling, sexual, intimate relationship with your spouse. I'm talking about true intimacy, emotionally, physically, mentally with your partner. I'm talking about relationships with your kids, where they can talk to you about things and you can share your dreams and your goals with them and you support them in that. I'm talking about surrounding yourselves with a community of women who dream big like you. And instead of being crabs in the bucket, pulling you down and trying to keep you from growing and expanding, who want to, oh, I get so passionate about it, who want to help build you, who want to help you grow, who want to grow with you, who want to collaborate and expand together. Women who realize that real estate investing is one of the most important key pieces that you can do in this whole process. I don't know how to say it more clearly. So I would love to work with you. If this is you, if this speaks to you, please reach out. Please send me a DM. Please shoot me a text on Messenger or through Facebook and say, hey, what does it look like for us to work together? If you need someone who can support you in your big goals and your dreams, I am here for you. And if you're not ready to hire a coach yet because their finances aren't there or just the timing or whatever that is, thank you for showing up and listening to the podcast. Thank you for sharing that with other women in your community, other women that you know need this and would be blessed by this. Thank you for being on my Facebook page and commenting and liking my posts so that the algorithm gods say, oh, people like this. Let's get it out to more people because then we can help more people. I want to help 1 million women create their empires. That is what I'm here to do, is to show love and to teach people how to be courageous and move forward and progress even when they don't know how and don't understand, and to help us have the most amazing, beautiful lives. Please come and join. If you're not already, please come and join our Creating Her Empire Facebook group. Creating Her Empire. You can search it. You can send me a text or DM and ask for the link to join. We go live in there every Tuesday at 1:30 with a training on some aspect of your business or your personal life, about just being a woman in business in general. And we actually have our next event coming up. We meet in person, almost always in person, in the Salt Lake area, the last Monday of every month. So we already had our May one. It was actually a Zoom training, which is very unusual. So make sure that you get in that group and get on our list so you can be notified if you're not in the Utah area, so that you can come to those Zoom trainings. And if you are, put it on your schedule. We meet the last Monday of every month in person. How amazing is that, to have a connection with all these beautiful people and women in your lives? This month for June, but I'm pretty sure it's the 30th. Dun, dun, dun. Yep, the last Monday of the month, last day of the month, June 30th, we're meeting in Sandy at one of our group members, one of our queens, at her property that she's flipping. And we're going to meet there. This is actually going to be a date night. So invite your husband or your significant other, or even just a friend, and come and join us. We're going to be teaching and training about how to get started doing fix and flips. And we're going to feed you dinner. We're going to have some burgers and hot dogs and snacks and treats and all the fun things, enjoying a beautiful summer evening together with our significant others. So I'd love to have you come to that. To make sure you let me know. I think we'll probably have a link in the comments for the show, to make sure that you have access to that link to get registered. Love to have you come join us there. Whatever it looks like for you, on whatever level you're ready to jump in, whatever feels stretchy and progressive, right? Always inviting you to move into that next space. Come join us. Come be a part of our community. Love you tons. Thank you for listening. Talk to you soon. And remember, you know how this ends. Bye.